So, that felt like a post-WrestleMania show. Welcome to what should be the most anticipated SmackDown of the year. The one after Mania. There's a lot of questions that have to be answered moving forward. And it was the first Mania while I've had a channel. So if you're new here, I'd love it if you would help me on the channel out by subscribing and staying notified. I'd always appreciate that. They ended WrestleMania with the lines at WrestleMania 40 of the words, "Pro Wrestling is back." Well, those are pretty big words to live up to. So would WWE come out with a good Raw and a good SmackDown for the week after a good WrestleMania 40? That's what tonight's show would detail. What's up, everybody? Brett Mix here to run down everything that happened tonight for the SmackDown after WrestleMania 40, whether you watched the show or whether you didn't. I got everything tonight on the show. We're going to go over everything that happened. I'm going to give you guys analysis for what happened, whether you caught the show or not. I'll go over that for the next 20 or so minutes, so get comfortable, chill, get a beverage. We'll go over it together. Graves and Barrett back on commentary for the Blue brand. They're getting better and better as the weeks go on. Corey Graves is really filling out well as a play-by-play guy. That's completely different from color commentary. It's just completely a different ball game. So he's just doing a good job each and every week. And I believed in Graves. I thought he'd be good at this job, but I didn't know how well he would pick it up. I didn't think he would do it this quickly, but he proved everybody that doubted him wrong. So the commentary is great on SmackDown. We know Michael Cole and what he's capable of on Raw, but on SmackDown, Graves and Barrett are really firing on all cylinders. We kick it off with them calling it the new era from SmackDown from Detroit Rock City here tonight. And what better way to kick it off with the new undisputed Universal WWE Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Crowd singing his theme song tonight. They always do, but this one they seemed a little bit louder. Fans chanting, "You deserve it," and "Cody, Cody." Of course, and he does his, "So, Detroit, what do you want to talk about?" Cody says he was doing his Monday, but was interrupted by The Rock. He was doing his speech post-WrestleMania promo for being the champion. He was interrupted by The Rock. Crowd boo and chant "Rocky sucks." Cody says that's in the rear view now. When Rocky comes, he will be right there waiting for him. Cody says let's look forward to France's backlash. Cody goes over the 6 guys competing tonight to find out who will face him in just 3 weeks for the title. He mentions all these names and they get their boos and cheers depending on who they were, of course, when he mentioned them into the microphone. Cody says he is now the hunted. He's used to being the hunter. And if you come at the king, you best not miss. Cody says, for those on the Blue brand, for those unfamiliar with me, I will make it easy for you. Once undesirable becomes undeniable, you're now a new undisputed WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. So Cody gets one of those new torch bearer promos for somebody that's newly won the title, especially the main title, especially at WrestleMania. When he got the promo to open Raw, and then he gets a promo to open SmackDown, which should be the brand that he's on if he's the champion of this title, depending on where the draft leads people in the next few weeks. Of course, that could change everything around. This promo was nothing epic, but it set the tone for the night, set the tone for the era, and it talked about tonight's main event. So, all in all, a good opening segment, nothing tremendous, but a very capable opening segment, which was needed. The Bloodline are shown at Rhodes' door, and Owens goes in and says, "You're not invited." Heyman says to Solo, "There are consequences to losing. We lost. If we want to go in the back and have that as our room, we need to win the title back, as per by the tribal chief." Was wondering how they were going to refer to Roman for the first time since losing the title. And that's the order. He wants accountability, and I like that. I like that usually heels make excuses, but there's no excuses coming from the Bloodline, and only change. We'll get into that in a second. Opening match, we have Lashley versus LA Knight versus Santos Escobar. The winner advances to a number 1 contender match next week, where the winner of that will meet Cody Rhodes at Backlash in France for the title. How do we get there? Well, 2 triple threats, both of them tonight. The winners of both triple threats meeting next week for the number 1 contendership. I was under the impression from Cody's promo that we were going to get some kind of 6-pack challenge tonight, but instead we get these 2 triple threats with the winners meeting in the main event next week. LA Knight, the overwhelming favorite for the crowd in this one, but since Rhodes is a babyface, heels are just as likely to win given the alignment pairing. We hear about Raw this Monday live from Montreal having the return of Sheamus. That's good to know. Back to the SmackDown 3-way. We come after a commercial. LA Knight coming off WrestleMania momentum after a victory over AJ Styles at Mania. So was Lashley coming off that Philadelphia street fight victory. So both of them had momentum. Santos obviously coming off a loss to Mysterio as Legado del Fantasma were the losses at WrestleMania. So he's the only one in this triple threat that's coming off a loss post PLE. Knight tries an inside cradle on Lashley, and out of the ring he goes, while Lashley flips Escobar into the ring. Then Escobar goes airborne on Knight and Lashley to the floor as we get a break in the action, as we usually do a minute into the opening match on Raw and SmackDown. New era, but same old spots. Lashley suplexes Knight, who had Escobar up top after we get back from the commercial. Legado del Fantasma interferes as the ref has lost all control of the match. The Street Profits eventually come in, and B-Fab equals it out, taking down their lady. Angel and Berto down, taken down by a flying in the air Montez Ford as he takes to the skies. Escobar from behind stacked the Almighty amidst the chaos, and then a flatliner by Lashley. Lashley then spears the ring post, BFT to Escobar after that by LA Knight, who comes right back into the ring, and LA Knight advances at 8.5 minutes. The megastar is one step closer to France. As he wins, a Detroit sellout crowd is loud for LA Knight as he advances to the number one contender match next week on SmackDown when they'll be live from Pittsburgh. We give the opening match 2.5 stars. Detroit was loud for the LA Knight victory. Pretty good sequences, pretty good triple threat match. They'll have another triple threat match tonight to decide who faces LA Knight, and that one would be a banger of a match. We'll get to that when we get to it on this review. LWO are backstage, and Ray calls it karma for Santos Escobar for losing at WrestleMania. He also calls it karma for him for being out there losing tonight. Ray says that he has another, even though he's a Hall of Famer, he has another run in him as WWE champion. And he talks about the number one contendership match later on tonight with AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, with the winner taking on LA Knight. Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and the Wise Man then head out to the ring for a segment. This would end up being a very memorable segment, probably the most memorable segment of the night. And coming in, we wouldn't normally have thought that. We would have thought if this is the biggest segment, obviously Roman Reigns or The Rock have to be a part of it, but they didn't. And this was just a big segment without those two. So credit to the Bloodline, credit to Heyman for his great acting skills. Congratulations to the newest Hall of Famer, Paul Heyman. He continues to go out there and show why he is that. The Bloodline are in the ring. Absent are Reigns of The Rock, of course, for the two members of the Bloodline so far, as we'll get to that. By order of the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns offers no excuses. Again, Heyman says accountability. They're not going to blame John Cena. They're not going to blame The Undertaker. They're not going to blame Jey Uso. Reigns has all ordered accountability to be taken, full accountability. Heyman goes over what happened at WrestleMania 39 and how and Cody flipped the script. Heyman says, what did Rollins say? He's a visionary. And he says he would be Cody's shield. So when Roman had a chair at WrestleMania 40, he could have smashed Cody with it. He didn't. Because why? Because he waited on revenge for Rollins for the last decade, and Roman gave in to temptation, never getting full revenge on Rollins for when he turned on him in the Shield. Heyman said, distracted by his lust for Rollins, he took his eye off the ball. This time at WrestleMania 40, flipping the script, from WrestleMania 39. And like that, it was all over. Your new undisputed champion is Cody Rhodes. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, your Tribal Chief, Solo then stops Heyman in his tracks. And everybody goes, oh, and says, losing and winning matters, right? Heyman shakes his head, but is a little bit taken back from Solo Sikoa's interruption. Solo says, so there's consequences to losing, right? Again, he's hesitant to agree, but he's a little taken back by all this. He backs off Heyman, and he says, right? And then he shakes his head at the fans, as perhaps Jimmy is now the spoke on the wheel that needs to be sacrificed, as Jay looks right into Jimmy's face. Jimmy says, oh, hell no, and all that. And maybe we're in need of change in the Bloodline. Solo hugs Jimmy and gives him a big hug as if to say goodbye to him. as Jimmy hugs back. Jimmy a little bit hesitant to hug, but he is. All of a sudden, a man with a mask tackles Jimmy down from behind. The consequences for failure as the son of Haku, Tommy Tonga, shows up and attacks Jimmy Uso. The consequences for the loss at WrestleMania go through Jimmy Uso as Solo hugged him. Haku's son, Tonga, beats up Jimmy, and this is the sacrifice as losing to WrestleMania 40 gets from the Tribal Chief, as he cuts a Samoan spike to Jimmy Uso. So as Solo Sikoa does that. Solo beats the hell out of him. Heyman covers his mouth because he's not sure this is what the Tribal Chief wants. But Solo Sikoa has been saying this is from order for the Tribal Chief all night. Heyman covers his mouth as Tonga and Solo Sikoa put a chair around the neck of Jimmy Uso in the corner and then run into the corner, damaging Jimmy Uso's neck in the process. As anytime a wrestler puts a chair around their head, they're in deep damage, obviously. Powerful segment here, one that is full of change, and if you're going to change things, why not the night after WrestleMania or the show after WrestleMania? This is the first SmackDown since Mania. Makes me think of The Rock after WrestleMania 14 taking over the nation with them kicking out Farouk. The night after WrestleMania 14 in March of 98, The Rock just raised his eyebrow and then the nation took down Farouk. Or X-Pac joining DX with the Outlaws the night after WrestleMania 14, when all four of them stood up in the steel cage to end the show. Triple H, X-Pac, Bad Road Dogg, and Badass Billy Gunn, all four of them with crotch chops. Just an epic ending to the Raw after WrestleMania 14, and that's what we're kind of getting here. We're getting an epic segment with the Bloodline, the SmackDown after WrestleMania 40. Next up, we got Braun Breaker versus Cameron Grimes. So, good segment there. Definitely interesting, definitely compelling, definitely noteworthy. Next up, Braun Breaker defeats Cameron Grimes in under a minute. A Steiner line by the son of the dog-faced gremlin, Rick Steiner. Superhuman strength as he goes in to attack Grimes. Grimes scores with an enziguri in the corner, but Breaker picks him out of the midair as planting him down, and he wins with a Goldberg-like spear. Corey Graves says if you're just new to seeing Braun Breaker, he's the real deal. Graves is realizing that there's probably a lot of new fans watching SmackDown or fans that haven't watched in months. After that Raw rating, Raw got a mid 2.3. I mean, Raw's been getting 1.6, 1.7 on the road to WrestleMania. So to get a 2.3, that's just huge. So SmackDown's been drawing in the twos usually. So he knows that there's a lot of new fans as they've branded this a new era. That gets fans watching, if everybody calling it a new era. It's not just one person's words. It's everybody saying it. So it's got to be true, right? Or at least you would think it would be true, so you tune in to find out. So there's a lot of people tuning in that probably didn't watch last week. So Graves taking advantage of that, explaining the dominance of Braun Breaker and everything else in detail. It definitely feels as such with the new era, with everybody talking about it like that. Bayley then in the next segment is going to have her moment, reigning as the new women's champion on the Blue brand, the Blue brand, I can speak here. She is shown walking to the ring for the next segment. Styles cuts a promo for the three-way, vowing revenge on LA Knight next week when he wins the triple threat tonight. When he eventually wins, he says, I could see AJ winning the match tonight. At least that's what I wrote in my notes. Whether that comes true or not will only be known when I'm rereading my notes on my review, like right now. And I put ... in my notes, and I was right. AJ did win. I just saw in it wasn't a huge prediction, and it was just one I felt. Once LA Knight won, I was like, okay, they'll probably do LA Knight AJ2 next week. And so they are. But we'll get to that. Next, Bayley gets a huge ovation. I think it even surprised her, and she was even more pumped up once she got it from Detroit. They were on fire tonight. They were a great crowd. I think she's due for new entrance music with a tweak to her character now that she's babyface, but she gets a lot of You Deserve It chants. So many You Deserve It chants for the new champion, Bayley. Sure, she deserves it. I'm a huge Bayley fan. She's probably my favorite woman in the entire division. Bayley thanks the fans for the support from online and elsewhere. Stratton then comes out, and she's a new favorite online, and because she acts like a veteran, and that might rub people wrong backstage, but when you're a newbie and you act like a veteran, but she shows that she's every bit as good and probably the best athlete in the division. She comes out, and Naomi calls her clueless. That's in a second, but she's dressed like Alicia Silverstone in the movie Clueless. And Corey Graves does a clueless pop culture reference and says, as if, to Bad News Barrett on commentary. Stratton comes out and says, it's Tiffy time, pretty much, and she should have been on WrestleMania, and she should be the one facing her for the title. Because she thinks it's an open challenge. And Bayley says, sorry, but it's not an open challenge. In fact, I was going to take my friend out, or she doesn't say my friend, but I was going to take another lady out and give her a title opportunity, and that's Naomi. Tiffany Stratton goes, Naomi, she couldn't win in, I forget what she referenced, but she said she couldn't win in a long time, or she said something not long time, but she says, she referenced something, I couldn't quite catch it. But she tried to burn Naomi, who came out. I think she said she couldn't win in the dark, even if she was glowing. Something along those lines. Naomi then calls Tiffany clueless, and that's when Graves did the commentary line of as if. Backstage, and so we'll get a match. We're going to get a match between Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. Before the match, backstage, Heyman says to Jimmy Uso that Jimmy Uso isn't okay to the interviewer. Tommy Tonga then says, by order of the tribal chief. Solo then puts his thumb up as it's taped to Heyman, and then he smiles as they both walk away. And Heyman goes, what the hell does that mean? Good question. We then get a bird's eye view of Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton. I'm loving the new direction ever since Kevin Dunn's left. It's not that Kevin Dunn was bad, but we're getting these new direction for each segments, like new camera angles, new camera shots. Kevin Owens' his promo later in the night has another one. We've been getting promos on the way to the ring by wrestlers. This has been happening in the last few months, and I really like it. Shows creativity. They go over Stratton being the awesome athlete she is and how she's matured. Naomi then with a jackknife pin on Stratton after dodging the prettiest moonsault ever. Decent little match here. If longer, could have been great. Gave it 2.5 stars. They show A-Town Down, the new champions, after winning their half of the ladder match. Logan Paul cuts a good promo on retaining the U.S. title, but talking about how he's gotten 650 million impressions online and how Prime and everything's been magical since WrestleMania. Green and Niven come out versus Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. I had Belair in my notes title before she even came out. That's how obvious Jade Cargill's partner was going to be. Green and Niven are going to be fed to both these ladies yet again, so it seems. Now wanting an opportunity from the SmackDown brand is Greens and Niven. I like how they show backstage with Nick Aldis how they want to be treated because they're left off WrestleMania. Always good to show people that were left off WrestleMania in promos the week after. It gives them a little bit of hype. A little bit of it's kind of a little bit of a I'm sorry we didn't include you from WWE when wrestlers get those big moments. Shinsuke Nakamura got one. Piper and Niven got one. I forget who else got one. Somebody else. AJ and Ray both had time to talk on the mic earlier, so then they'd had Owens' creative way to the ring talking trash. Owens has really won me over. He's everyone else a decade ago in the last couple of years. He's really won me over. It's not that I didn't think he was talented a decade ago. I just wasn't a big fan of him till now. Owen shows up, the longest running mystery in the WWE with his entrance, as we are in the time for the main event. Triple threat for the number one contendership to take on LA Knight next week. Kevin Owens versus Rey Mysterio versus AJ Styles. This longest mystery that we've had in the entrance is who plays the wrestlers' themes when they run to the ring for promos or for matches. And we all know there's a music guy with his finger on the button of everybody that's going to come out. And we all know he hits the theme, but it's never shown on WWE TV, or explained, I should say. But Kevin Owens said, Bruce, hit my music, as he talked bad about Dominic and the Judgment Day. As he said, his son is bigger than him, just like Dominic, but his son doesn't suck like Dominic. And he's going to kick both their asses. And then he said, Bruce, play my music. Obviously talking to Bruce Pritchard, I would imagine. That kind of thing hasn't been said before, but it sure clears up a lot. I like a lot of the new direction, again, since Kevin Dunn has been gone. That's that promo where following Owens through Gorilla to the stage is one of the reasons. Not that, now for who wins the match, this may be the question heading into next week. I predicted AJ earlier, and I ended up being right for that, but this match was how to put on a triple threat match. They will decide the number one contender for LA Knight's match and Rhodes' match subsequently in France at Backlash. This week's on May the 4th. This week's headline will be the Tonga talking to Jimmy Uso, or taking Jimmy Uso's place, or at least sacrificing him in the Bloodline. Not sure if he will be back in the group in the Bloodline, Jimmy Uso, or if this was just some kind of sacrifice and some kind of initiation. But we'll find that out next week and the weeks following for the Bloodline anyway. Should be a fun mix in the ring between Kevin Owens, Rey Mysterio, and AJ Styles, I wrote before the main event. We get a cannonball from Styles by Owens to Styles into the barricade as he tells him to suck it, and then AJ hits a senton. This all followed a great in-ring sequence where Styles hit a fall-away slam onto Rey onto the ring apron. You just knew there would be high-flying, fun sequences with these three guys. We go to commercial, probably our last one for the evening, and it was. LA Knight meets the winner again. Huge in-air sequence of who is catching Rey, but the two mid-air counters, two tornado DDTs to Owens and Styles by Mysterio, who was still wowing us 3 decades later than he originally started in mainstream. In the mid-90s in WCW is when he started, or ECW if you want to go that far. There's never been a cruiserweight like Rey ever. He's always been number one. Owens then turns Rey inside out and suplexes him off the top. Styles with a thrust kick, and then Styles comes back with a kick after a pop-up powerbomb attempt by Owens. Rey with a crossbody taking down Styles before Styles clash as he soared through the skies. AJ reverse sent Rey into the corner, and Styles caught him, and Owens triple suplexed by AJ, who was holding onto Rey in the corner. This is awesome is subsequently and appropriately chanted. Styles with the 619 to AJ in the end, then Owens with a stunner to Rey. Owens with a swanton, but AJ got the knees up. As Detroit reacts accordingly to all these moves with O's. Rey with Styles up top and Styles counter into a Styles clash from the top rope. AJ wins this roller coaster of a triple threat at about 10 to a dozen minutes in length. That was truly awesome. Just a 10-minute thrill ride of counters and high-flying moves. Innovative offense. I rated it 3 stars and a quarter. That does it for the match portion of the show. As in my review, I like to keep it around 20 minutes for SmackDown, running a little bit longer, but I'm sure it's okay. To all people subscribed, and if you're still watching this far, I hope you're subscribed, as you've definitely been watching a lot of my review. To end the night, they had both of them trash talk one another, hyping up next week's number 1 contender main event. Out of 10, I rate the SmackDown a 6.5 out of 10 because it had a new era feel. I thought there were some great segments on the show. I thought the Bloodline segment stole the show. It felt important, as did the reception type promos from Cody and Bayley, the new torchbearer promos segments that they got. I thought the Naomi Stratton brought it, and I thought the triple threat, the opening of the show was good, as was the main event. Not enough to call the show great, but good, hence the 6.5. For the SmackDown after WrestleMania, it hyped up Rhodes appearing, and it was good, recognizing WrestleMania as well as looking forward to Backlash. So that does it for April 12th, 2024, SmackDown from Detroit, Michigan. We look forward to Montreal hosting Raw this Monday night, April the 15th. And, it's the first post-WrestleMania on the channel since the channel's been here, so stay subscribed and notified, and I'll see you all this Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for watching the SmackDown review. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out.